Hey guys, welcome back to our interview series. Guess who we have today? We have SENARI. Previously, we did a Hidden Gems episode for SENARI on his song Berlin. And I'm so glad to have him here. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me, man. Nice to be here.
It was a fantastic experience. As you know, he has fantastic music, and Berlin is simply one of my favorite songs. And it was an honor to do that Hidden Gems. And now, on top of all of that, he's here for an interview with us. Welcome to the studio.
Thank you. Thank you. Hi.
Let's start simple. We start from your youngest age, the point in time where you realize that, hey, I really want to do music, and there's something in me that's jolting me to do music.
Yeah, the first spark of interest in music until I actually wanted to do music, I think I was like quite a long time in between, but I remember, so I first really got in touch with music when I was in first grade because my mom sent me to music school. So I had to, she just wanted me to do some out of school activity basically, and I was a very unathletic child. So, so music school it was. And I remember, I still regret this actually. So I had the choice between keyboard and guitar. And back then as a 6-year-old, I was like, ah man, guitar seems very difficult. So let's do keyboard. So I did that for a couple of years, but I was never really interested in it so much. So my dad's very much into music. So he's always been into a fan of rock bands and plays guitar himself and stuff. And I remember when I was probably in 3rd grade or something like that, he had a Queen live album. Mm-hmm. That's Queen Live Killers, it was called. I think from some 77 European tour or something. Mm-hmm. And he had it on vinyl at home. We played that at home, and he also had the CD. So whenever we'd go in the car somewhere, we'd basically play that as well. So for a while, that was very present for me. It's probably a couple of weeks, but when you're like, I don't know, 3rd grade, that feels like a long time. Mm. And because he was quite enthusiastic about it, that kind of rubbed off a little bit. So he would tell me like why songs are cool and, what made them special, and tell me about the band. And I remember there's this one song on there, I think it's called Now I'm Here or something, where they, in that live set, play around with the stereo panning from, left to right and stuff, which I guess for the 70s was a big deal, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That's his like enthusiasm kind of was a bit infectious. So that's
rubbed off.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it was the first time for me when I realized like, okay, music doesn't just have to be this like background entertainment media that's playing somewhere, but you can actually like consciously listen to it and be excited about it. So that just kind of opened up for me. And Queen became my favorite band for a while after that, like for a couple of years. So I got my first CD then of Queen because my dad would buy that for me and stuff. So that's my first experience of like being, a fan of a band. So I always thought bands were cool. It'd be really cool to make music somehow. But then I only started that way, way, way later. Probably in my late 20s, I think, when I started actually more seriously trying to write songs and stuff like that.
So, okay, from 3rd grade to your late 20s, that in between, so from 3rd grade, you were listening to Queen mainly, right? And Queen is like the rock genre and stuff like that. So from 3rd grade to your late 20s, you started listening to other genres and stuff like that?
Yeah, for sure. So Queen was a cool base, I guess, in hindsight, because they do have this like rock phase, but then they also become a bit more pop.
Correct, they are very fluid.
Yeah. I mean, the next thing I remember, which became super big, was like about 2000 when Limp Bizkit and and Linkin Park and Korn, like all this new metal stuff came out.
Yeah,
which was like super hyped and super mainstream at the time as well. And then not just like new metal, but like all the other bands that came with it. So like alternative rock, I guess, was just like the label slapped on it, right? So you had like Puddle of Mud were kind of like roped into that, even though they weren't like, I think they were like more grunge. Actually, really really good first album as well, and Incubus and like those kinds of bands. So I really got into this stuff for a while, and then
that was a fantastic time for music. That was really
exactly. Like I think it's honestly it sounds like such a cliche, but I think it's the last great decade for music. Like
actually,
the 2000s,
I agree with you.
like
yeah,
where you had like these kind of bands that were just like everywhere on mainstream. There'd be pop culture essentially. They, music TV, which existed back then, would like play that all day long, like would play bands, and you still had like obviously like pop kind of industry plants, in lack of a better term, back then as well. But it was about 50-50. So you really have like bands like just a bunch of friends who start out in the basement, basically make it to the top end.
I agree with you. Like
shaping pop culture,
Nirvana awesome. And stuff like that. Yeah. That during the 90s was really one of the most exciting periods in music history. And it's also, if you watch other channels as well, music critiques and industry executives, at that point in time is where music started to shift from being about the musicians to being about business.
Yeah, exactly.
And you can you can hear it in you can hear the change, and you can see the changes in the industry. That's why I agree with you. Listening to during the 90s, like Audio Slave, Soundgarden, bands like that just blew my mind.
Yeah,
that's why I can understand. So you started listening, and what because now your genre is more along the lines of like post punk and new wave.
Yeah.
So what started?
I think so. I never went away from bands. I had like a period of time when I was also listening to a lot of hip hop, and was the white kid running around in baggy pants and oversized hoodies. There's not a lot of photos of that, so luckily I got away with it a little bit. But
thank goodness.
Yeah. But then the next thing that came was basically this mid 2000s indie wave, which is basically almost like a 90s revival in some way, I think.
Yeah.
Where you had all the bands from the UK, like Arctic Monkeys, Franz Ferdinand and the Crooks, whatever.
Yeah.
All the Killers from the US, but like Strokes and those bands. And that became massively big. Like and I really got into that as well at some point. It took me a bit, like, but there was this band, like a Swedish band, they're called Mando Diao. I don't know how famous they're here, but for a period of time in like Europe, they were just as big as the Arctic Monkeys, basically. Probably not in England, but like continental Europe. The first 3 albums were like super successful as well. So through them, I kind of got into more like this kind of indie music, whatever you want to name it. And that kind of shaped all the rest of my like music taste until today. So I then at some point got to the point, because back then you just didn't flip up your phone and have the whole catalog of bands in front of you, right? So back then it was a bit more difficult unless you have infinite money to buy records.
And search for stuff.
Yeah, so I reached the point somehow where I was like, okay, I've gone through all the bands that I know now. What else could I listen to? And I remember like, man, that's like this band Oasis, I've got like Wonderwall and stuff. It's like a cool track. Let's see what else they got. And then I downloaded, very legally, of course, their compilation, Stop the Clocks, which is honestly an amazing compilation. It's got like not just singles, but like B-sides, album tracks and all of that over 2 CDs, basically. And then started discovering them. It's like every song was like, holy shit, this is awesome. Holy shit, this is also awesome. Like just the density of hits to me was like insane.
Yeah.
And then I found out like some of these are B-sides. And I was like, oh my God, how is this a B-side? Like this kind of, like, I don't know if you remember, like probably, but when you bought a single back then in the like 2000s, you would have like the song you actually wanted. And then you'd have like, I don't know, like a instrumental version of it,
Correct.
Which is like useless. No one ever wants to listen to that.
Yeah.
And then you had like maybe a radio edit, which is also useless.
Correct.
And then you have like a remix that no one asked for because it sounds crap and not as good as the original anyway. But that's basically what made up your B-sides at the time, right?
Yeah.
So then figuring out like, wow, everything on the master plan is like all B-sides, like holy shit,
So sometimes they will include the master recordings, the even the whole set list, the instrument list. Some CDs you buy, you have a booklet.
Yeah.
And that's the thing the difference between digital media and last time actually going out there and buying CDs.
Yeah.
And you're talking about your influences now. So the B-sides and stuff like that. I was in the Prodigy.
Yeah.
Yes.
My
My
dad
goodness,
also.
Keith Flint. Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow. And yeah, Keith Flint, God rest his soul. Amazing band.
Yeah.
And I bought every single
Yeah.
from a guy in Singapore that was importing the CDs,
Yeah.
one by one. And that way we are supporting the bands directly, actually, although they're going through major record labels, which is a topic for another whole video. But we had to show our appreciation by having these physical
Yeah.
CDs, like you're mentioning the B-sides, listening to the remixes, figuring out for ourselves, us being musicians, listening and realizing from that, the realization where our major influences come from and forming our own identity.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And I think it was easier back then as well. I think like as a consumer of music, essentially, to have like all these things. Like I remember you'd go into like a store, like every electronic store back in Germany at least, they'd have like this huge section of just like not so much vinyl at the time. Like that's kind of in the last couple of years come back a little bit, but like just rows of CDs of like all genres, and you could just like spend your time going through all of this, and then just like at some point you just leave the store with one for sure, where it's like, yeah, man. And then it was cool, and you were kind of proud of your collection at some point. I remember I had like this rack where you put all these CDs in. Like, man, great, it's almost full. And the second one, you're like, it's kind of, yeah, it was cool. Like, and I think that's missing a little bit nowadays. I mean, it's coming back with vinyl for sure. So
it's almost coming back reverse.
Yeah.
The oldest stuff, vinyl is coming back.
Yeah, that's probably, yeah. I think you do see a bit of CDs again, of cassettes as well.
There are,
yeah. So I think it has a bit of a resurgence now, which is cool because you can. I mean, I don't want to be a hypocrite. Like I listen to a lot of, like, it's just so easy to listen to stuff on Spotify. So obviously I do the same thing. But if there's like a band coming up that I like and I want to, like, then I do want to support them as well. I do order like their vinyl and stuff. I just think, yeah, it's cool to have. I think it's quite nice that comes back to.
Yeah. I mean, the main thing about digital media, I'm fine. Don't get me wrong. I'm fine with using Spotify and streaming on Spotify. Yes, the ease of use. One of the problems I have personally about Spotify is that a lot of people just put it in their pocket and it just plays. It could possibly sometimes play random things, new discoveries and whatnot. But I don't see many people taking it out and going and looking at their screen and going like, who is this? Oh, it sounds cool, and then maybe just put it in their favorites and stuff like that and keep it back in their pockets.
Yeah.
But I don't see anything wrong with that per se. There's just a main difference between using Spotify, which is in your pocket, and last time going to a store and flipping through the vinyl and going through the CD rack and looking for the titles. I think there's the nostalgia to that.
I mean, it probably sounds very nostalgic, yeah, but I think it's also, it is nostalgia, yeah, because it was a good time. It's a different presence of music. I think it's like back then, like throughout 2000, probably even early 2010 still. Maybe sound very old to say, but it was just like music was just like pop culture. Like you'd have magazines and like, I don't know, The Enemy and stuff. Like no one really cares about The Enemy anymore nowadays, right? But like, I mean, they're still around, but like it's not as big of a deal anymore. And you'd have like Front Page or cool, the Libertines are on it, like the Kills are on it. I don't know, like Oasis are on it. And you buy that and you flick through it and just like, it was just everywhere. So you were kind of enticed to buy physical music as well, because it was just part of a cool thing to have, like, and your friends will have it as well. So it had a bigger part in your life, I think. And I mean, I'm sure there's still a lot of people out there who feel the same way about it. But it's just in the grand scheme of things, I think that's become a bit less a bit less present in culture nowadays.
Yeah. So back to so okay, you were in your late 20s, you were listening to all of these bands. When was the point where when was the first day you had your first so-called single that did you like, how did the process work out? Like, did you have your own recording tape and microphone and
Yeah,
like,
I mean, probably what I used to do mostly was like you just record into your phone and see how that goes, right? I did have a loop station. I think the first time ever I recorded something was with a loop station, actually.
That's nice.
Just to play around with that a little bit, you know, put some chords on and play some, you know, melodies over it. And it's like, oh man, immediately, like, oh, it's actually quite cool. Yeah, that's probably what I did first, but nothing where I would say like, oh, this is, you know, like worth going out into the world or something. I would never be sure if it's any good. Like just for myself, it sounded like not bad. And the first time it ever really became tangible to do something was just like when I discovered GarageBand, basically, right? Where you have, without trying to plug some sort of programs now, but because my wife has had an iPad and it was on there, so I was just like, oh, that looks interesting. What's that? And I opened it up and it's like, oh, that's pretty cool. And then I figured out what I can do with that. It's like, oh man, really, maybe I can actually start recording stuff. So I had like, it's my first single that I put out, Along for the Ride. I had written many years before that, basically. But I was never, you know, like, do you rent a studio now? Like, is it really any good? How's it going to sound when I record it? Like those kinds of things where you like, if you do all this by yourself and you don't have like any feedback really by, I don't know, like if you're like a band, I think you can probably bounce off ideas of each other. But if it's just you, then it's always a bit like, I don't know if that's, you know, is that going to be all right? Especially because it was the first time. I got a bit more confidence since then. But like, yeah, I think that's the first time when I tried to figure it out. So I got a microphone, you know, and just recorded my acoustic guitar into it. And I mean, started with a beat, but then acoustic guitar and just started layering it basically and put all the instruments in. And it's like, oh, it's actually, you can do quite a lot with that and really record your singles actually. Yeah.
My first experience with GarageBand was, blew my mind.
Yeah.
It's like, my goodness, this whole time I've been using like a Zoom multi-track thing, and suddenly you get GarageBand and your PC becomes a recording studio.
Yeah, essentially. And it's, I mean, I don't want to say it's free because like a Mac costs a lot of money, but like but essentially, yeah, if you buy a Mac, it comes with that.
Yeah.
So I was like, man, that's pretty cool. They just like chuck it in and it's like, you're ready to go, essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's the first time on your first single that you experimented with actually recording a single.
Yeah.
Okay. So then after that, what drove you to, you know, you have obviously a second and third singles.
Yeah, I don't know. It had just become like, it's opened the doors to that, right? To be just like, okay, I can actually make music now. I can actually express myself in that way, which is like this thing that I always thought was like really cool to do, and I was always interested in doing it, but never thought or never knew how it would be possible for just me as a one-person job, essentially.
All the while I'm thinking, and we talked about this the first time that we met.
Yeah.
All the while I'm thinking, wow, this production is so clean. and it sounds so nice, you know, and I had no idea of the way you actually recorded Berlin. And would you mind filling us in on those details? Like,
yeah, sure.
How do you
I mean,
record Berlin?
thanks first for the compliment. But
no worries.
I mean, this one actually is a bit unusual how it came to be for myself. So I actually started with the synth part. So I have like a Akai MIDI keyboard at home, which you can do all kinds of stuff with. It's pretty amazing, to be honest. And I started with the main synth part essentially, and just tried different effects which sounded good. And once I had that dialed in, I just put like, I mean, probably put it, I don't quite remember. I assume I put like a basic beat there first to get like the tempo right and all these kind of things. But then just for reference, and then put the synth part on top of it, and then from there just like started playing around. I would pick my guitar up at some point. I don't think I'll ever do a song without any guitar in it. So that kind of had to be in there, and just like played around with that. And that all came together quite quickly, actually. So yeah, I think I basically composed it there, and then usually when I write a song, I would probably sit down with the guitar first and come up with like a, I don't know, like a chord progression or a riff or something, and just like start humming a vocal melody over it or something like that. But this one I just kind of just almost created itself on the spot during using like GarageBand essentially. And I think within like 2 hours or something, I had basically the whole thing, recorded essentially. I mean, minus vocals, obviously still had to write lyrics and stuff, but all the instrumental parts were basically in there within 2 hours, which was cool. Like I was surprised myself how how fast that happened. Yeah, usually takes a bit longer.
So okay, when for those of us who don't know GarageBand, how it works, so you have an external like something like the MIDI keyboard, and then it looks and acts like a synth, like with all the knobs and sliders like that, right?
Exactly.
It goes into GarageBand, and then in GarageBand you have synth sounds, and how does that work?
Yeah, exactly. So you've got a lot of presets in there already that you can obviously completely play around with. So that's GarageBand's really quite. I mean, again, don't want to like make this a GarageBand ad or anything, but like it's.
Yeah, this is not sponsored by
GarageBand.
Yeah,
no, I wish, but no, it's really quite cool what I can do with it, because like you have your basically your all the effects in there, the presets, but you can completely, of course, customize every little thing about them. So, but yeah, essentially you put your MIDI board into the computer, into the laptop, and then you just play melody, and then you see it as an audio track, and then you can put different effects on it and EQ it and play with the volume, pain, and everything like that. And the same thing then, of course, with like guitars and stuff. You go through an interface then before, but same logic. Yeah, you record everything then directly into the computer. Apart from when I do acoustic, that one I would then really record with the actual microphone and record it on GarageBand as well. But yeah, you've got for the synth basically. Yeah, you've got all those presets that you can play around with, and it's quite a big library as well, even if you don't download anything else on top of it. And because you can still customize it around, you can still make it sound sort of unique as well. So you don't have this fear of like, man, someone else uses GarageBand, they would probably come up with the exact same, I don't know, sound or something. Obviously might happen at some point.
You can tweak it.
Yeah, you can play around with that quite a bit.
Yeah. So the amount of, I mean, the thing that amazes me is that you actually have this level of creativity where you are accessing a software and or instruments that are actually available to anyone in this day and age. So it takes a level of creativity, you know what I mean? Which really amazed me the first time I met SENARI, that he told me that he was in his room and he has GarageBand, he has a audio interface, and that all the more puts more emphasis on the fact that you guys can actually go out there and do it, you know? You don't need an expensive studio, you don't need expensive equipment and stuff like that, all this blah, blah, blah. All you need is the creativity and sometimes the luck.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, that, you know, you have this inspiration and you come up with the melody and then everything just falls into place.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's quite amazing this day and age what you can do. Technology, right?
Yeah, it's like, I mean, that's probably the reason why there's a lot of indie musicians out there now as well, which is a great thing. You can just do things on your own in the bedroom or living room or whatever, wherever you want to set your stuff up. And I mean, of course, there's like different levels to it, right? Like when you mentioned the vocals just now, like I've got a very basic microphone that I'm using.
You mentioned the USB mic.
Yeah, it's a USB mic, so there's nothing fancy about it, but it's just, it serves the purpose of the kind of music that I do. I think it's fine, but you can always upgrade that. I think GarageBand works really well if you don't need to do a lot of post-production. Like if you can almost, I mean, of course you EQ and compressed to a certain degree. Even that's a bit limited, I think, in GarageBand. But
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the more you need to do or want to do, then of course at some point you probably upgrade. But you will probably upgrade eventually, because it becomes like your passion anyway, and you kind of like you get addicted to it, I think, and just like you almost search for reasons to buy a better microphone now and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that's exactly it. Like I think that was the thing for me, right? So when I was, I don't know, a teenager, thinking like, oh man, noise bands are like cool, like such a cool thing. Like now you're like not a teenager anymore, but you can just start by yourself, basically doing all this kind of stuff. And yeah, it's quite cool. I think for everyone who wants to make music, just buy a Mac, man. Just get started with GarageBand. It's a really cool program, actually.
Yeah, you're right. It's a matter of taking that first step, right?
Yeah.
If you hadn't taken that first step, so you wouldn't know your capabilities.
Yeah.
To what extent?
But I think that's also where this kind of stuff helps, right? Because you don't. I think the fear everyone probably has. I mean, some people don't, but like a lot of people who do like artistic stuff or creative stuff, it's always like the judgment of people somehow. Because eventually you probably want to put your stuff out there, whether it's like paintings or music or whatever. And you will have people judging it. Like, what if people don't like it? What if, because you pour your heart and soul into it, and people will be like, oh, that's like shit, or they'll just dismiss it, or that's boring. I think that's like the big fear you probably have to overcome. And the good thing with like something like GarageBand or whatever other platform or program you use and you do it at home, you've got the whole thing basically ready to go before you have to push it out. So you can actually listen to, okay, this is the finished song now. No other ears were on this yet.
Exactly.
So it's there in like this kind of safe space for you to decide like, okay, this is good enough or not.
Yeah.
And then you can push it out, right? You have Spotify. I mean, whether you're a fan of it or not, but what it does definitely is you can just essentially for no money almost, you like just push it out into the world and see what happens. And if you change your mind, you can delete it, or if you're still not sure if it's good, you're just not going to promote it or whatever. Like, so you're very much
paying your aggregator.
Yeah, exactly, right. And yeah, so I think you're very much in control of how many people will listen to it if you're like insecure about it at first, maybe.
Yeah, you're actually right, because initially, I mean, I didn't want to totally, although some people are complaining to me about stuff like Spotify, but not how they give you cents and all that. Even within Zeppelin Studios, we don't cancel it off. We don't take it off the table. We leave it on the table, and there are various reasons. Like you mentioned. So first of all, the playability, the accessibility. So that sometimes even the older generation, so they might know, oh, Spotify, I have it because a friend of mine recommended it. So it's easy for them to listen to it, listen to your songs. And also, it doesn't really hurt, like what SENARI was mentioning, you can put it out there and then see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
And of course, there are other avenues as well that people can listen to you. If you do have your own Bandcamp, you have your own website, it's all up to you, actually.
Yeah, I agree.
How you want to,
Yeah, that's what I mean. It's up to you how you want to promote your stuff, right? So Spotify is a very easy thing to take like that first, dip the toe in basically and see how it goes and kind of remain anonymous. And then if you want to be more present, you just start, I don't know, building your social media, put stuff on YouTube as well. I'm saying that's not an easy thing to do, obviously. Like I think one of the first thing that you notice as like an independent artist is like no one cares as much about your music as yourself. Like,
correct.
You think like you're proud of this thing, like, and it's like, oh my god, like I've got a song in the world now, like how cool. No one cares. Like no one gives a fuck. Like that's just the reality of it. Like I think my dad's probably my biggest fan,
And for you musicians that I've worked with as your producer, you've heard me say that before. Like the exact same thing.
Yeah.
No one else cares about your music more than you do.
Yeah.
That's a fact.
I 100% agree with that. I think that's probably the first lesson everyone will will learn. And then it's just about like, I mean, yeah, it's okay, well, maybe I was hoping for a bit more traction or whatever, but in the end, it's just, I think you do it because you want to do that, because somehow you've got this creativity in you, and that's like your outlet. And if it ever gets like to a place where it becomes big, then like, hell yeah, like sign me up. But if not, I think as long as you make stuff that you like yourself, then it doesn't really matter that much, I think. And I think at some point people will catch up on it as well. Like if it's actually good, and you know, if you like it, there's a good chance other people will like it as well, because we like to think that we have quite a unique taste or something, but we're not that unique. Like there's always like overlap with a lot of other people like who are into the same stuff. So
that's very true.
So I think if you just, you know, keep doing it because you like doing it, then it doesn't really matter that much.
Okay, let's talk instruments.
Yeah.
What instruments do you use?
So first and foremost, my go-to will always be a guitar. Like I was actually, again, bringing up my dad a lot, but like he for his birthday, he asked for this live DVD of Red Hot Chili Peppers, Live at Slane Castle. I don't know if you've never watched it, watch it. It's amazing. It's where they were at their peak. Like just by the way, it had just come out. So they basically mostly played Californication, by the way. I got obsessed with how John Frusciante played, basically. I was, again, obviously very legally burned that DVD at some point for myself, and probably watched it almost every weekend for a while. It's like, holy shit, man. It's the way this guy plays, so like effortlessly. That's what it looks like, at least. What I thought back then. So I was like, man, yeah, I want to buy a guitar as well. So I wanted a guitar like Frusciante has, right? It was like a Strat. But obviously I didn't have any money for it. And I remember I went to like a guitar shop just browsing once. And I saw like a Strat that looked like his, like Sunburst. And I was like, hey, what's that Strat build? Like, or like, I didn't call it a fake in German, it's a different word, but like, you know, what's that? And then the guy in the shop was like, oh, no, that's a real Strat, like it's from Squier, you know, they're like from Fender. I was like, oh, okay, cool. It was still $400, so I didn't buy it. I didn't have that money. But I went online and bought one for like €150, I think, back then. Which was like a Squier Affinity Strat. Sunburst, so just like, that's all I cared about. It's like, it looks exactly what Shanti's playing. Hell yeah. And that's when I first learned with that, basically. But what I didn't know, like to me, I had no clue at all. I had done almost zero research on it. I thought like if it's a Strat, it's a Strat. They would all have the same specs, essentially. I mean, obviously, like €150 Strat will sound different than a 1500, like Fender one probably. Like it's probably different materials, the pickup's gonna be different and stuff like that. So that's a given. But like in terms of anything else, it's like the same. And I learned chords and everything, and you know, like open power, whatever. But I always struggled a little bit because I found the neck a bit slim. And then only years later, so a friend of mine's like a really good guitarist from England. He moved to Berlin, and I would go to his place sometimes when we play. So he'd play bass, and I would use his guitar, and it was like a Fender Strat. And I picked it up, and I was like, holy shit! Like the neck feels wider somehow, feels bigger. But I doubted myself because it's like, surely that can't be, like, because it's both is a Strat, right? Like, how is that possible? And yeah, only after that I did like a deep dive in it. I was like, okay, so apparently that like Affinity Squier series is like famous for having like slim necks, which if you have like big hands, like it's
gonna be a bit
that sucks
of a
like,
squeeze.
Yeah, it's not great. Like so that then opened the door for me for like, you know, I figured out actually I'm better than I thought at this. Like I'm not, obviously I've never become John Frusciante, unfortunately, but yeah, like because with the Squier one, I couldn't even, like if I used the plec and started like to, I don't know, alternate picking or something like that, that would even be tricky for me because I felt like the strings are quite close together. And it's just a few millimeters difference essentially over the whole neck, but it makes such a difference. Like, so only then I found out like there's so much, you know, like the nut width, like the width of the neck, basically the radius of the curve, the neck shape, like all those
C and U shapes,
all these influences. Like, but I've kind of, I guess through that always kind of been a Fender fanboy. So I bought like a Jazzmaster at some point, like a Fender Jazzmaster, and that one's just amazing. I mean, obviously it's like,
that's the one you used on Berlin, right?
Yeah, exactly. That's the electric one I've used for all my recordings now. I still have my Squier because, you know, for nostalgic reasons a little bit, and it looks a bit cool now because it's made in 2008, and obviously now it looks quite old because of this. It's got this natural, you know, old look, but it just doesn't play that nicely. So initially I was like trying to be a bit of a romantic. I was like, I'll put it on one of the songs. But I never did because it's just like so much easier to do.
But I'm a bit jealous of you because I sold off my, I had a Squier Stratocaster, Squier Stratocaster, Sunburst as well.
Yeah,
we all go for the Sunburst. And yeah, I sold it. It's a big regret. I should have kept it.
Yeah, I mean, mine was like, as I said, like 150 euro back then. It's probably, I think if we look them up now, they're probably still 200 or something. Obviously inflation and stuff. But mine would have to be revamped so hard. Like, I think the input, like the plugin is a little bit loose and stuff like that. So it's just, you'd have to do a bit of a revamp for that one. But basically, I think if everyone starts out, that's probably my experience I can share. Do look into the neck of the guitar. Like, I mean, I think quality-wise, the one I bought was good enough to learn guitar and plug it into an amp and play around with it. Yeah. But it's just the neck was like limited me quite a bit, I think. And there's other Squiers. I mean, Squier gets quite expensive. Like the one you have, for example, is quite high quality as compared to mine. But there's also, I think there's one that's called Bullet, which I think is the cheapest you can find of Squier. Like
we actually have that in storage as well. Bullet,
and I think
surprisingly good.
I was gonna say, I think that one, as long as the neck is fine, like I think
slightly wider.
It will do, like it will do for you as a beginner for sure, man.
Oh, for sure, We had those. We had a couple of Bullets in the Excelsior, the jamming studio. When I picked it up, it was surprisingly it's good. Of course, you know, fretboard wise, you can kind of feel the difference in the frets and stuff like that. But other than that, sound wise and playability and the weight of the guitar. So like for indie artists starting out, that's the thing. You see, Squier is affordable and accessible. And sound wise, they don't really compromise. I also had a Mexican Strat. Beautiful Mexican Strat.
That's the one. I think the one my friend had was a Mexican one as well. And played like amazing.
It does. It sounds fine. It sounds good enough. In fact, if you record and you put a couple of VSTs on it, free VSTs by the way, it could really sound good enough already for your first recording. You know, all of us have to start somewhere. And put ourselves out there. I guess that's the first step. And because of Fender, because of Squier, they actually make it accessible. And sound-wise, also, the guitars have so much character.
I love them. I mean, I'm a bit like, to me, the optics are also very important. And I just find like, they just look the best as well. So that's always for me like
Did you hear of the news that Fender has finally managed to trademark their Stratocaster shape?
No, I haven't actually. I was always surprised that they never managed to do that, to be honest, because everyone's like building struts essentially, but shape-wise at least.
It's gone to the High Court in Germany.
All right.
And they won the case.
All right.
And now everyone every other guitar manufacturer and you know there are thousands who have copied the Strat shape are in trouble.
Yeah.
And they can't. Whether you're coming out from China or Indonesia, if you're not registered by Fender, you cannot have the same shape.
Yeah. But I think I always found it weird why companies do that. I mean, I get it to a certain degree because I feel like you've got the low cost entrance models that people will just pick up probably and are just affordable. So you kind of play to that market. But there's also some that are not cheap enough for that and they will still have the shape. And I don't know, if I were, obviously I'm not, maybe what do I know? But like I always feel like if I were a guitar manufacturer, I would probably try to come out with a bit of my own shape as well, because you kind of want to establish your own look and brand to a certain degree.
I agree, but the problem about is because especially the Strat, the shape is so ergonomic. You know, it molds. It's got the
the cutaway,
belly cutout. I'm getting a bit tubby, and now it's finally coming to some good use.
Black is fine.
But it's the shape of it. I don't know. It's just so iconic and so streamlined.
Yeah, that's true.
And especially when you get to the high notes on the fret board, it's so easy to use.
But you can, I don't know. I mean, you look at, I don't know, Gibson, Epiphone, whatever. They've got their own shapes, basically, right? And they're still, I mean, they're less ergonomic, probably, if you look at Les Paul, for example. But you won't have troubles reaching the high notes either. Or you've got Ibanez, which, like, I mean, I'm personally not a fan of the shape, but they have like their version of the Strat, basically. But it doesn't look like a Strat, really. Like, it's got the horns.
Yeah.
But they're like more pointy and stuff and a bit longer, I think. But it will serve the same purpose, but it will still be its own thing. So people will now look at this shape and be like, oh, that's an Ibanez,
Yeah.
So that's what I would aim for if I'm a guitar manufacturer. So you don't need to reinvent the wheel, but like make a kind of your own. I don't know. But that's just, I don't know. That's just me. I don't want to sound arrogant now and give advice to guitar manufacturers. I'm sure they know what they do.
Well, yeah. I mean, definitely there's a lot of truth in that. For guitar shapes wise, anyway, what? Okay, so for Fender, you have you ever tried like a Gibson and heard the sound of a Gibson, or have you ever?
I tried one like I don't know what that one's called. Like is it like a Les Paul Junior or something? The one that's a bit bit flatter than the actual Les Paul. So that one. I never owned one, but like a friend of ours, he used to have like a proper basement studio as well somewhere in Germany, and he had like some guitars, and that was one that I played, and it sounds good as well. I like the sound. It's a warmer sound for sure, and it's a nice sound. And initially, if it wasn't for John Frusciante playing the way he played, probably he has this very warm sound even on the Strat, to be honest. I was always more drawn to like the warmer sounds. So sonically, I might have actually gone down the Gibson or probably Epiphone route initially. But now I'm like, I don't know. I like the more twangy, the more bright, crisp sound.
Brighter sounds.
Of the Fender a bit better.
Yeah, I think for your genre, it matches the brighter, twangy sounds matches, more with you.
And I mean, it depends also, like, obviously, like the Jazzmaster that I have, right? Like, you can, if you want to, you can make it sound incredibly warm or incredibly muddy as well, like with, the single coils that one has, basically. Because you've got the rhythm and the lead circuit just has a massive difference as well. So it always, of course, depends which model as well. But even for a Strat, I think it's just like I got very used to how it sounds like.
Yeah.
And I wouldn't want to, I don't know, step away from that type of sound that much.
No offense to any Gibson
no.
fans or anything like that. But yeah, I do agree that for Fender wise, it's a very versatile guitar. If you want it to sound twangy like a Telecaster, you have your bridge circuit. And then after that, if you want it to sound really warm, you have your neck circuit.
Yeah.
So it's a very versatile guitar, and that's why I guess we use it. And in terms of sound-wise, yeah, if not for guys, on my side, if not for guys like David Gilmour, Richard Blackmore, oh, that warm, it's almost like a Voxy,
Yeah.
and if you send it through Marshall amps,
Yeah.
tube amps, it's just a perfect combination to have.
Yeah. True. I mean, yeah. I mean, cool inspirations to have as well, for sure, like in terms of guitar playing. Yeah.
How about okay, so we've talked about guitars. Wise, you only have one Jazzmaster?
I have one Jazzmaster. I have an acoustic guitar as well, like a very cheap Fender as well, obviously.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah,
the first time.
so like I've bought this probably over 10 years ago as well, and it still sounds really good. I don't know what it's called, like CD60 or something like that. It's Sunburst too, but just because they didn't have the normal like light wood color anymore that I actually wanted. So I bought a Sunburst. But yeah, I think it was $140 back then, euro. And it just like does everything it needs to do for me. Like it's perfect, to be honest. Yeah. And I think like my dad bought like I don't know what it was, like if it was an Ibanez actually or a Yamaha or something like that. But a way pricier acoustic guitar. And it's like in terms of the strings and stuff and how it feels, you can feel it different. Like you can feel it's a more expensive instrument than mine. But I will, for example, lose its tuning very quickly, which mine never does. Like it's so stable. And
that's amazing.
Then I'm just like, yeah, like give me these very, like the cheap and sturdy one over the more, atas version any day, basically. It's, yeah. Yeah, so I have that one. I used to have that. I did give this one to my dad actually as well. Like a Ibanez semi-hollow. I bought that when I was massively into Oasis at the time. And it's like, they played their like Epiphones and Gibsons and something. I saw this, it's like blue colored, so it looked pretty cool. And I saw this on eBay for like $300 or something. I was like, damn, that's like a good deal. So I bought that one. I rarely played it in the end. Like I played it for a while because when I stayed at home before all this recording stuff, basically, sometimes I just got too lazy to plug in everything. So it's easier to just grab this one and just play along with it. And again, it would have a wider neck than my Strat had at the time. But yeah, so I used to have that one. But yeah, now basically just a Jazzmaster and an acoustic one for guitars. And it's like, I think the Jazzmaster is quite versatile. So I can, everything I need to do with that, I can do with that. Yeah.
And it just works, right? It's fact of the matter, you don't need to have like $10,000 guitars.
Yeah.
I guess, that's another thing that I wanted to talk about, the misconception that and for us being in the recording industry and having Zeppelin studios, I see that a lot. The misconception of you need to have something that's $10,000 or $5,000 and in order to sound good. For my personal opinion is that it's actually the person who's writing and playing the songs more than the instrument is almost an icing on the cake. Like, if you have a better instrument, it'll bring out more the creative potential that the individual has. Do you think so as well?
I think so too. I mean, you can also, of course, sonically, you can do a lot on the production side. So, and as soon as you put your guitar into like some sort of multi-effect pedal and whatever stuff, like you can sound like a lot of other things as well. So, you don't need something expensive, but there's definitely differences to it, like from a sound perspective as well. But I think if you make a whole song and people are listening to it, and unless you're like a super audiophile person, you probably don't notice it that much. But I think on the player's side, it's a big difference. Like for me, as I said, right, like it was such a difference, like going from my cheap Squier to like a proper Fender guitar is a massive difference. But yeah, in the end, I think it's about in the end, it's going to be about the melodies you create and the songs you create. And, it's what I do, for example, is not very complex in terms of guitar playing. There's nothing super difficult about it. Like I don't make like music where I like shred solos really hard, just because it's not stuff that I listen to that much either. So it's basically, I make music that I listen to myself essentially, and that's kind of in line with that. So you can probably achieve similar things with a cheaper guitar than I have. But even the one that I bought is like, it's one from Japan, and it was $1,500 Sing dollars, $1,500, which I think is an amazing price. And I think like, I don't know how Fender Japan specifically does that as well. Like they keep their prices quite low, and the quality of the instruments is so high.
Yeah.
So a lot of people also think like Fender is like the non plus ultra when you've got the US ones. I don't think that's the case necessarily. I mean, they can be very good, but they can also not be that good. Same with the Mexican ones or Indonesian ones. Or it's always about the quality control, I think. And I think Japan has like insane quality control. It's like everything they do, like in whatever area of life or manufacturing or whatever, I think they just like pride themselves into what they do that much. And that's like in the instruments the same way.
Yeah, the quality and the precision as well. So I don't know how Japan manages to do that. So but sometimes even the Fenders from Japan can cost more than the Fenders from US.
Oh, is it?
Models.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, they have a lot of limited editions. Like they've got like very cool colors. Usually it's those that have like the matching headstocks and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So those definitely. And then like everywhere you have people just buying it and reselling it because they know people will spend a lot of money on it. But but yeah, mine's like a standard, like a, I don't know, vintage 70s rebuild or something like that. But nothing like limited or anything like that. And I think for $1,500, if that's in your budget, like go for like a Japanese one. And they're amazing. Yeah.
I guess summarizing the brand Fender, you really don't need to reach that deep into your pockets if you're an indie artist. Having Fender out there in the market is so accessible, and sound-wise, quality-wise, so this video is not sponsored by Fender.
No, by
Fender,
not by
GarageBand,
not by Fender. But do reach out to us.
Yeah, we're throwing all the sponsors out there. If you hear, you can help us out. Okay, now that we are back with Cookie here as well. SENARI has a message, an announcement of sorts that he wants to put across.
Yes.
So
I have a new single coming out in a couple of weeks' time. So keep your eyes peeled for that. It's a bit similar, I would say, in vibe as Berlin is. I mean, you've heard the demo earlier.
Yeah,
it's more guitar driven though. So I think people who appreciate Berlin will probably appreciate that one as well. But if someone wanted something that's more guitar heavy, they'd probably like this one as well. It still has some synth elements in there, which I think makes it quite interesting too. And we'll produce it here this time. So usually I do all my stuff at home, but we'll produce that here. I'll record the vocals here as well, which I'm quite excited about. Thanks for opening the door for that. Like for me, like I'm not a native Singaporean. Most people would have probably guessed. So I moved here like a couple of years ago, and it's quite cool to have like, because you look at Singapore sometimes like, like this very small place, like you don't know how much just from the outside creativity is going on, how much music scene is going on, but it's actually quite a bit. And it's quite cool to have like places like this that basically are open for like independent artists as well and offer this kind of support. Because very honestly speaking, from my experience of being an independent artist, and we're going back to this topic of no one really cares that much about your music, you can tell that most people probably support you expecting something in return to a certain degree. Or they only support you when you have like a certain reach because they know you can profit off their reach as well and all these kinds of things. And that's not the case here. So that's like when you made this video about Berlin, for example, I had like very, very few followers. I mean, I obviously don't have like a huge following yet on YouTube or anything, but it's a big difference to what it was before. So I think yeah, it's really cool. So thanks for that as well.
No worries.
To have like a place like this that's accessible in Singapore. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's my honor. I'm so excited and so glad to be able to co-produce his new single with SENARI. So it's a great thing, you know. Us indie artists, we have to stick together and we have to give each other the support that we actually need. Of course, on top of the fans, you guys are amazing, especially all of you supporting and commenting on Hidden Gems. You also help to support artists like SENARI, because it's what keeps us alive, you know. And I guess that's the essence of what I've always wanted to do. For I hate to say the word indie label, but yeah, you gotta put a label to it. So yeah, I really appreciate it. Thank you for allowing me to co-produce this
Nah,
with
man,
you.
I mean, of course.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's what we love to do, and we love the fact that you love what we do, and we appreciate it very much. So, with that being said, and Cookie now falling asleep,
Too much excitement about the new single coming out.
she's sleeping already. It's so cute. Yeah, we'd like to thank every one of you for tuning in. I'd like to thank SENARI for being here
Thanks very much.
and for producing the music that you have produced.
Thank you. Thank you.
It's been an honor, and I wish you all the best and can't wait to work with you in the future.
Same. Thanks, man.
Okay, guys, peace out, and we'll see you in the next episode. See you. Bye-bye. Bye.
Story about
Singapore is fantastic.
I need PR. Give me PR.
Singapore government. Okay, no.